I want to talk to you about how to remove closed accounts from your credit report this year, okay? So here are the trends I want you to pay attention to. The thing is that if you've ever paid off a loan, but your report reflects otherwise, this could be a little frustrating, but also problematic. Not just frustrating because you have done your part of the job and you realize that the credit bureaus are not doing their part of the job, okay? And the thing is that such closed accounts on credit report can be consequential and in some cases even cost you significant credit points. Like this could make a difference between you having a FICO score, let's say, of 600 and a FICO score of 650. And those 50 extra points really will play an important role when it comes to having an APR that is maybe at 15% versus 12%. Okay. So if you want to remove closed accounts from a credit report, you have to be methodical about it. Let me first define for you what closed accounts are, because closed accounts are pretty particular when it comes to a credit bureau's terminology. So simply put, financial accounts that have been deactivated or terminated by the account holder or the financial institution, respectively, are considered closed accounts. So let's say you have a Chase, you had a Chase loan 5 years ago, and you paid off the loan, and Chase has actually terminated the not terminated, like, has deactivated the account. Okay, and so when you think about closed accounts, those can include bank accounts, loan accounts, credit card accounts, investment accounts, utility accounts, as well as subscription accounts. So those subscription accounts also can play an important role, especially if they have some derogatory items that are not really properly corrected. So what are the scenarios leading to a closed account? It really depends. It really depends on the geography, your situation. A closed account really is not necessarily a bad thing. For instance, a closed account may be a result of a loan that you've paid off. Like if I go back to the hypothetical example I gave you about the Chase loan, okay? And so when you pay off a loan, this calls for a celebration, if anything. However, this can lead to consequences in certain scenarios based on the reason for a closure. Here are scenarios leading to a closed account for your better understanding: voluntary closure by the account holder, paid off debts, account inactivity, default or delinquency, fraudulent activity suspected. This is also a problem. Credit card issuer closure, and also a bankruptcy. Let me talk about the impact on your credit report here. How do these accounts affect your credit in the first place? I'm gonna put this on the screen so we can all walk through this one by one, because when you analyze the impact on your credit, there are six or seven elements to really pay attention to: payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, credit mix, new credit, total number of accounts, and also derogatory marks. Okay, so when you think about payment history, the effect here is pretty simple. If the closed account has had a positive payment history, this remains on your credit report and continues to benefit your score for up to 10 years. In other words, you don't have a derogatory item, you have a positive item, and you just leave it there. Okay. What about credit utilization? Well, closing an account can increase your credit utilization ratio if it reduces your total available credit, potentially lowering your score. So your score might go down, let's say 5 to 15 points, because your CUR, instead of being low, all of a sudden becomes high. You also have the length of credit history. So the closed accounts will still be included in the length of your credit history calculation, but its impact will decrease actually over time. What about the credit mix here? What's the effect of closed accounts? Well, closing an account could adversely impact your score because it would reduce the diversity of your credit mix, kind of similar to credit utilization. What about new credit? Closing accounts actually typically do not directly impact this aspect, because It primarily concerns recent inquiries and new accounts. What about the total number of accounts? Well, having fewer accounts can lower your score slightly because a higher number of accounts generally indicate a well managed credit profile, especially if the credit is diverse. And you also have derogatory marks. So if the account had derogatory marks, they will remain on your report for up to 7 years and continue to affect your score in a negative way. So when you think about how to remove closed accounts from your credit report, there are a few tactics I want you to really pay attention to this year, and let's quickly go through those. So why should you look into closed accounts into your reports in the first place? What's the strategy you need to really think about? What's the method to put in place? Okay. Well, closed accounts may be affecting your score adversely, maybe affecting your score negatively. Your credit worthiness may be at stake. In other words, your credit score may not be as high as it should have been, and this accounts may put your financial responsibility in question. Let's go a little more granular here. So when you think about affecting your score negatively, in cases where an account closed owing to let's say outstanding balances or even a history of late payments still appears in your report, this can affect your score adversely, and you do not want to have that scenario. This is not a good scenario for you. And your credit may be at risk, at stake. Your credit worthiness. So lenders usually consider closed accounts when evaluating your ability to manage your accounts. So this may impact the approval of your future applications. And also, this whole thing may put your financial responsibility in question. So closed accounts with negative marks can reflect poorly on your financial responsibility and trustworthiness to potential lenders. Okay. Note now that you know all about closed accounts and their impact on your credit, let's really address the main concern here. How do you remove closed accounts in a methodical way from your credit report? Right. I want to really talk to you about a few strategies. I want to go over various scenarios and ways to do so because every scenario will call for a separate strategy depending on where you are at in your life, where you're at in terms of financial profile, where you are at in terms of family situation, where you are at in terms of job situation, because you do not want to really apply for certain jobs if you don't have the quote unquote the right credit profile, because certain jobs, when they perform a background check, they will pay attention to your credit also before actually offering you the job. So let me explain to you how to remove closed accounts from credit reports here. So one thing for sure, before you actually decide on a way to remove closed accounts from your credit report, you got to really go back and ask yourself a few questions, okay? First of all, the first and most important thing is the info regarding the closed accounts on your report accurate? Because the whole thing is you do not want to dispute actually accurate info, or you do not want to remove accurate info. If the info is not accurate, then maybe there could be a possibility to dispute it, right? And so additionally, you want to ask yourself another question. How do the closed accounts on your report affect your overall credit health? That's what I was saying a little earlier when I said, where are you at in your life? Where are you at in your finances? Where are you at in your family situation? I mean, where are you at in your professional journey? Okay. So once you actually have all these answers actually figured out in a clear manner, you can accordingly proceed to remove closed accounts from your credit report in several ways. The first thing you want to do here is to dispute inaccurately reported accounts. That's what I was saying to you a little earlier. So you want to dispute inaccurate information, okay? And you want to really do so as soon as possible. We have actually covered on this show before how to go about disputing inaccurate data on your credit report. And this is totally different from a credit repair, like a credit dispute letter. You can actually do things manually. You can contact Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax over the phone, or you can just write a letter. If you want to write a letter, you can actually write a credit dispute letter. You can write a 609 dispute letter, or you can write other type of letter. The whole thing is that before you write a letter, you got to have evidence. You got to have proof. Okay, you can't just write a letter and say things that you can't back up. Okay, so you need to actually have evidence based like an evidence based foundation, and so it's one of those things where you have to send a letter to the credit bureaus. Do all three. Don't just do one. Do all three. And according to the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, basically, when you send a letter, the bureaus may either confirm the negative item or correct it. If you find the process overwhelming, you can just outsource the whole thing to a third party. As a matter of fact, you can even outsource everything to an app. Nowadays, you have artificial intelligence driven processes that allow apps to really help you in terms of correcting errors. So that's really fantastic. The second thing you want to do here is to actually pursue a goodwill deletion. So you want to really pursue a goodwill deletion. It's one of those things where if you believe that disputing inaccurately reported accounts is just too complicated or not even suitable in your situation, think about a goodwill deletion. So if your closed accounts had an error or two because of justifiable experiences, a goodwill letter can help you get in the good books of creditors, convincing them to remove it from your report in the first place. Okay, let me really explain to you how the whole process works here. What you want to do here is that when you think about a goodwill deletion process, really has to trigger a certain goodwill in you. In other words, you're coming in good faith. You're coming honestly, and you're saying, "Listen, I was wrong there. It was my fault. Blah 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 blah." So you want to write a polite, concise letter, right? And it has to be concise because you do not want to write a whole like a whole book about what you did wrong or whatever. No, just write a polite, concise letter. You want to accept responsibility and explain yourself, right? You have to contextualize what happened. You have to contextualize your behavior, and you have to really explain so that the lender understands what are the things that really led you to behave in a certain way. You want to request removal of the negative mark. And here you want to include also supporting documentation, right? It's all about always backing up whatever you are saying. So you want to include supporting documentation. And so once you send it to the bureau has 30 to 45 days to actually investigate your information, and they'll get back to you. Now, if for any reason they do not get back to you, you want to follow up politely, and you want to await the creditor's response patiently. It's one of those things where you have to follow a certain protocol here, okay? Now, here are scenarios in which a goodwill deletion letter is the best way to deal with closed accounts on your credit report. You have an otherwise impeccable payment history with a creditor, but due to unforeseen circumstances, you missed a payment leading to the closure of the account. And following a bankruptcy discharge, some accounts might still appear as closed with negative remarks on your credit report, despite being included in the bankruptcy in the first place. Sometimes, if you want to remove closed accounts from your credit report, it's just better to let chronology take its course. Let time take its course. It's all about being patient, and things will just fall off by themselves. It's one of those things where the law has put in place certain provisions to say after 7 years to 10 years, certain items will fall off naturally. Okay. And that's important from a flexibility point of view. So if you think the closed accounts in your credit reports are harmless, or you're not able to get them removed using the discussed ways that I just told you a little earlier, just let time do the deed. Moreover, the impact of negative closed accounts lessens over time, and eventually they fall off from your report. Okay. So again, if you are looking for a few points here and there, it's just better to continue paying, making your payments, your credit card payments, your loan payments on time, and that will really maintain your credit score, as opposed to working on some derogatory items. Okay. Now let me give you a few scenarios in which being patient and letting time take its course actually could be the best way to deal with closed accounts on your credit report. You have a closed account with negative remarks on your credit report, right? But it's nearing the end of its reporting period, and you've actually maintained good credit behavior since its closure. So that's a pretty good scenario here. And you also have multiple closed accounts on your credit reports due to past financial difficulties, but you've since rebuilt your credit and are actively working to improve it further. Now, you want to keep tabs on closed accounts on your credit report also. It's one of those things where you have to really understand that, if you are able to, if you know what closed accounts are on your credit report and how they may affect your credit score, you should really understand the importance of identifying and addressing such accounts properly, right? And when it comes to keeping tabs on closed accounts on your credit report, it's all about credit monitoring. You want to keep a constant eye on your credit report to spot any closed accounts that you may not want listed. It's one of those things where it has to be a constant surveillance process. Let me give you a few extras here. So when you think about closed accounts, it doesn't have to be a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on your situation, really. Okay. A closed account on credit report can be a cause of concern unless you address the account in the right way, especially if you have the right strategy. Now, dispute inaccuracies associated with your closed accounts, especially when they are harming your account. Okay, you can also request a goodwill deletion or just let time take its course. Remember that staying in the know of such accounts on your report is paramount. So use a credit repair app to actually monitor your credit regularly. And so when it comes to removing closed accounts from your credit report, you have to really understand that you have to start with looking at your existing credit report, right? If you identify any error, dispute it with the credit bureaus. However, if you want to remove an accurate account, you might need to negotiate directly with a creditor, or even wait until the account ages and is removed automatically from your report. It's one of those things where closed accounts stay on your credit report for 7 to 10 years. Okay, so closed accounts in good standing remain on your credit report for up to 10 years. On the other hand, closed accounts with negative information are actually reflected on your report for 7 years from the date of the first delinquencies, delinquency, especially if it's just a small delinquency. Okay, and so when you think about a closed account letter, think about a type of correspondence that allows you to tell a creditor or a credit bureau to initiate the process of removing a closed account from your credit report. The letter typically contains your personal details, closed account information, and an explanation of the grounds for requesting the removal of the account. But you got to be as detailed as possible. You got to be as comprehensive as possible and see what works and what doesn't work for you. So here's a closure here. To this conversation, I spoke to you about how to remove closed accounts from credit report. I give you the trains, the tactics, the extras, and the closure. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.